The emergency alarms began flashing across every floor of the city's largest technology company just after sunrise. Thousands of customer accounts suddenly disappeared from the screens, production lines froze without warning, and millions of dollars started vanishing with every passing minute. The expensive consultants gathered inside the control room looked at one another with pale faces, unable to understand what was happening. The young CEO stood silently in the middle of the chaos, realizing that the one man everyone had dismissed only 30 days earlier had quietly built the invisible foundation holding the entire company together. The single father they believed was outdated had walked away carrying nothing except his dignity. Now the company was collapsing without him. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, loyalty, and second chances can change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Vault. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories that inspire millions around the world. Morning sunlight filled the streets as Rowan Mercer pushed his old bicycle toward the neighborhood elementary school with his 8-year-old daughter, Hazel. Life had never been easy after losing his wife to illness several years earlier, but Rowan refused to let sadness define their home. Every morning started with homemade pancakes, cheerful music from an old radio, and a promise that tomorrow could always be better than yesterday. His apartment was small, the furniture was worn, and every paycheck disappeared into rent, school supplies, and medical bills from the past, but Hazel never felt poor because her father made every ordinary day feel meaningful. For nearly 16 years Rowan had worked as the senior systems engineer at the massive technology company known as Nexera Dynamics. While executives appeared on magazine covers and investors celebrated record profits, Rowan spent countless sleepless nights designing security systems, recovery programs, and backup architecture that protected the company from disasters nobody else even imagined. He rarely attended glamorous corporate dinners or accepted public recognition. He preferred returning home before sunset whenever possible so he could help Hazel finish homework, cook dinner together, and read bedtime stories before another early morning. Inside Nexera Dynamics, many younger employees quietly admired Rowan. Whenever computers failed or mysterious problems appeared, he solved them with patience instead of arrogance. He never embarrassed coworkers for making mistakes. Instead, he explained every solution carefully, believing knowledge should be shared rather than protected. Unfortunately, the executive board saw something entirely different. They saw an aging employee wearing simple clothes, riding a bicycle instead of driving a luxury car, and speaking softly rather than promoting himself. To them, experience seemed less valuable than expensive presentations from famous consulting firms. Everything changed after the company's founder retired and leadership passed to 34-year-old CEO Selina Hartwell. Brilliant, ambitious, and determined to modernize every department, Selina believed rapid transformation was the only path toward global dominance. She surrounded herself with celebrated consultants carrying prestigious degrees and impressive resumes. They promised artificial intelligence would replace outdated engineering methods, claiming legacy employees were obstacles slowing innovation. Within weeks the consultants produced colorful reports recommending aggressive restructuring. Their presentations were polished, filled with complicated graphs and fashionable business language. They insisted several veteran engineers had become unnecessary because modern automated systems could handle everything more efficiently. Rowan's name appeared near the top of the list. Nobody bothered asking why almost every critical emergency over the previous decade had quietly been solved by Rowan before customers even noticed a problem. On a bright Monday morning, Rowan received a brief meeting invitation. The conversation lasted less than 10 minutes. The company thanked him for years of service, praised his dedication, handed him a generous severance package, and explained that specialized experts would now manage the systems he had built. Rowan listened calmly without arguing. Pride tempted him to reveal how deeply interconnected every security layer had become over 16 years, but something inside him refused to beg for recognition. He simply collected a small cardboard box containing family photographs, a coffee mug painted by Hazel during kindergarten, and a notebook filled with handwritten engineering ideas. As he walked through the building one final time, many co-workers lowered their eyes because they felt ashamed. Some wanted to stop him, but fear for their own jobs kept them silent. Rowan smiled gently at everyone he passed, thanked the security guard by name, and stepped into the warm afternoon sunlight without looking back. Life after losing the job was frightening. Bills continued arriving, savings disappeared quickly, and Rowan accepted repair work throughout the neighborhood to support Hazel. He fixed broken computers for elderly couples, repaired school equipment free of charge, and helped local businesses recover damaged files without charging families who clearly couldn't afford professional services. His kindness remained unchanged despite his disappointment. Hazel watched everything carefully. She noticed her father hiding overdue bills beneath books so she would not worry. She noticed him eating smaller dinners while pretending he simply wasn't hungry. Still, every evening he smiled during bedtime stories exactly as he always had. Meanwhile, inside Nexera Dynamics, executives celebrated their modernization program. New consultants replaced experienced engineers with sophisticated monitoring software. They congratulated themselves during interviews, proudly announcing a new era of efficiency. Exactly 30 days later, at 8:17 on a peaceful Tuesday morning, every celebration ended. Without warning, multiple backup systems failed simultaneously. Security protocols began rejecting authorized employees. Automated recovery programs entered endless loops. Manufacturing robots stopped moving. International clients lost access to cloud platforms. Emergency databases became inaccessible because authentication systems could no longer verify one another. The consultants immediately opened technical manuals. They searched documentation for hours. Every attempted repair triggered additional failures because the systems were far more interconnected than anyone realized. Millions of dollars disappeared each hour. Investors panicked. Customers threatened lawsuits. Television news stations reported the crisis. Employees feared permanent closure. Only then did someone discover a disturbing truth. The company possessed diagrams explaining individual systems, but nobody fully understood how every component interacted because Rowan had gradually developed customized protections over 16 years, constantly improving them while documenting only the essentials. His deepest knowledge existed through years of experience, observation, and practical judgment rather than corporate presentations. Selena finally understood the painful cost of valuing appearances over wisdom. Embarrassment disappeared as survival became the only priority. She personally searched for Rowan. Instead of finding him inside another prestigious corporation, she found him repairing donated laptops at a community learning center where disadvantaged children attended free technology classes. The room echoed with laughter rather than panic. Rowan patiently explained computers to children who had never owned one. Selena stood silently near the doorway, overwhelmed by the contrast between the collapsing skyscraper she had left behind and the peaceful classroom before her. She apologized sincerely. For the first time since becoming CEO, she admitted she had judged someone based on image instead of character. She confessed that her decisions had endangered thousands of employees whose livelihoods depended upon the company surviving. Rowan looked toward the children before quietly agreeing to help, but not because of the executives. He agreed because thousands of ordinary workers, cleaners, receptionists, cafeteria staff, security guards, and young engineers had families depending upon them. Returning to Nexera Dynamics felt surreal. Employees spontaneously stood from their desks as Rowan entered the building. Some applauded. Others simply smiled with visible relief. For 18 exhausting hours Rowan worked without rest. Instead of blaming anyone, he calmly traced failures one layer at a time. He identified hidden conflicts created when consultants removed what they believed were unnecessary safeguards. He rebuilt damaged recovery chains, restored authentication pathways, manually recovered corrupted backups, and stabilized systems that everyone else believed were permanently destroyed. Shortly before sunrise, every monitor inside the control center slowly returned to green. Production resumed. Customers regained access. The crisis ended. Silence filled the room before exhausted employees erupted into applause. Many openly cried. Selena realized the company had not merely recovered its technology. It had rediscovered its humanity. During the following board meeting, Selena rejected every proposal celebrating Rowan as a miracle worker unless deeper changes occurred first. Instead of simply rehiring him, she completely restructured company culture. Experience would never again be ignored. Mentorship programs connected senior engineers with younger employees. Promotions considered integrity alongside technical ability. Leadership training emphasized humility as much as innovation. Rowan accepted returning only under one condition. Every employee, regardless of title, deserved respect. The board unanimously agreed. Months later, the company became stronger than ever, not because it hired more famous experts, but because it learned that wisdom often speaks quietly while arrogance speaks loudly. Hazel visited the headquarters one afternoon after school. She watched hundreds of employees greeting her father warmly in the hallways. For the first time she truly understood that greatness was not measured by expensive suits or executive offices. Greatness was measured by the number of lives someone quietly lifted without expecting applause. Even Selena changed profoundly. She spent time listening instead of assuming. She visited departments she had previously ignored. She learned employees' names, celebrated teamwork instead of personal glory, and often shared Rowan's story with future managers as a reminder that leadership begins with respect. The company never experienced another disaster of that scale again. Not because technology became perfect, but because people finally learned to value the hearts and minds behind it. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Vault. Your support allows us to continue sharing stories that remind the world kindness is never weakness, it is true strength. Blue Heart special request: before this story ends, please comment, kindness always finds its way back. We'd love to see how many people still believe in loyalty, gratitude, and second chances. As another bright morning sun rose over the city, Rowan once again rode his old bicycle toward work with Hazel laughing beside him. He could now afford a luxury car, but he never bought one. The bicycle reminded him that dignity never depends on status, kindness never loses its value, and true character shines brightest after life's hardest storms. While skyscrapers reflected the golden daylight, a father and daughter smiled together, proving that success built on humility lasts far longer than success built on pride. And somewhere inside Nexera Dynamics, every employee understood a lesson that no business school could ever teach, that the strongest system in any company is not made of machines or software, but of people who choose compassion over ego, gratitude over arrogance, and humanity over ambition.